This lens is just spectacular. And welcome back. Here we are finally talking about the Viltrox 27mm f1.2 Pro. This lens has been in my bucket list for a long time. Now, I haven't purchased it yet. We'll get there in a second. But I was able to try out this lens thanks to a friend of mine, grazie Fabrizio. And I was super curious because everyone on the internet was going crazy about this lens, saying how great it is, how the value is incredible, how the image quality is incredible, how everything is incredible about this lens. And I was already positively impressed by the 13 f1.4 and the 75 f1.2 from Viltrox. So I had a positive mindset when welcoming this lens, but I couldn't believe that the lens was as great as people were saying. Well, long story short, it took me one night shooting a concert in a pub for a group of friends to really understand that this lens is even better than what people have reported. This lens is just spectacular. That's not much to say about it. I'm sorry, this is going to be a short review, and basically you can wrap this up now. And just don't forget to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It's going to help me a lot, but you can leave now. The lens is spectacular. So if you don't want to know more details, you can leave now. Spectacular. Speaking of construction, the lens is very well built. It's metal, it's all metal, it's solid. It just doesn't feel hollow at all. It's very clicky. It's weather sealed. You have the rubber gasket over here. You have a way to update your firmware with the USB-C port over here. And it's super well built. It screams quality in every aspect of it, almost. I'll show you one where it doesn't scream quality at all. But in general, it's spectacular. Of course, it's heavy. It's a 67mm front filter thread, which would probably lead you to believe that it's not that big. But if you compare it to the 33 f1.4 from Fuji or the 18mm f1.4 from Fuji, this is bigger. And more than anything, it's much, much heavier. You can feel the heft in your hands. Now, with a camera like the X-H2 or the X-H2S, this is not a big deal because they will balance pretty good and it's not going to be putting any pressure on your hands or anything like that. It's actually going to help you hold the lens the proper way. However, on smaller bodies like the XT5, XT4, XT3, XT30, XE4, this lens is going to be super, super, super front heavy because it's really, really, really heavy for what we're used to when it comes to Fujifilm lenses. However, you will understand that the heft of the lens translates one-to-one to image quality. The one thing that I hate about this lens is not related to the lens itself, it's this lens hood. Because, I mean, it's big, but it's not a big deal. It makes the lens a little bit bigger, but it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. However, you touch it and it comes off. I didn't have to apply any pressure. I didn't have to do anything. And I already risked of losing it multiple times. Now, I hope this is one of those things that it's one lens only, just this sample that I have, and all the others are great. And if that's the case, forget about what I'm saying. But compared to how great the build quality of the lens is, the fact that it comes off that easily, it kind of throws everything off. Again, I hope it's just this lens and all the others are great. If that's the case, who cares? One last thing, you got the aperture ring, which Viltrox has gotten used to it, and that's great. It's clicky, but I would have loved to be a little bit stiffer just to prevent accidentally moving it, but it's not a big deal. All in all, this lens construction is spectacular. But where this lens shines, and shines like a super bright star, is image quality. The image quality out of this lens is otherworldly. It is sharp corner to corner, even wide open at f1.2, you got some vignetting, but it's not that bad, and you can easily remove it in post, and it goes away as you stop down. So not big deal there. But it's super sharp. It's very sharp. You get a little bit better of sharpness in the corners. If you stop down, f2.8, you get the perfection already, and it stays like that up until f8. Then the fraction starts to kick in at f11, and f16 it's almost unusable. Now, almost unusable on f16 may sound weird. Actually, not almost unusable. It's unusable at f16. It may sound weird, but at the same time, you gotta think that you're still talking about an f1.2 lens that is perfect at f1.2. This means the lens was optimized to be used at the when it's wide open, when you're opening that aperture and let the light in. So it's only normal that if you're optimizing one way, you can be not optimized the other way. It's like the blanket. The blanket's always short. You gotta take decisions. You gotta make decisions. And in this case, it makes a lot of sense. You want to shoot this lens wide open a lot of times. Not all the time. I've been shooting this lens in various environments. In a fashion shooting, I was shooting between f5.6 and f8, and that's fine. This lens is great, so it's fine for that. But the three-dimensional look that it gives you when you're shooting wide open at f1.2, f2, f2.8, it's incredible. The sharpness, as I mentioned, is great. There's not much chromatic aberration. I couldn't spot anything dramatic. I couldn't spot anything dramatic when it comes to flare and ghosting. There's nothing wrong with this lens. There is nothing wrong with the optical performance of this lens. And the bokeh is just so creamy and spectacular. It definitely beats the 33 millimeters f1.4 from Fuji. From a bokeh perspective, sharpness is there, but bokeh is much nicer in the Viltrox than it is in the Fuji, and it's just the image quality of this lens is spectacular. When it comes to video, if you watched my last 3 videos on this channel, they were all filmed with this lens. And so you can see that the image quality, the quality in general of the lens translate from photos to videos one-to-one. The only issue that this lens has when it comes to video is only the focus bleeding. It's pretty visible. The focus bleeding is that when the scene breeds, because it just changes the focal length as you focus closer or further away from the lens. And in this case, the 18 millimeters that is filming me right now has some, okay? But it's not dramatic. With this lens, it's much more visible. And so the way you shoot is based on a lot of shifting between foreground and background when it comes to focusing, this is not the lens for you. But if you can keep your subject at a relatively fixed distance from the camera, this lens is a dream to work with, even for video, because the autofocusing tracks super good and in general gets you that beautiful, beautiful look that makes you want to use this lens. We all default back to the image quality of the lens, which is great. When it comes to autofocus for both photos and videos, I find that Viltrox has done an incredible job. The 13 was already great, the 75 was great. This is better, probably the focal length helps compared to the 75, but in general, the autofocus works super good. Fast, accurate, silent. I had a few missed shots, but I think that is more on the camera's algorithm than the lens. In general, I cannot blame the lens for missing. I probably missed because of the lens a couple of shots. That's it in various environments. So no complaints at all. You can trust the autofocus of this lens. Viltrox has come a long way with their lenses, and now they're to the point where you can fully trust these lenses to be 100% operational, even in a highly demanding environments. So really, really, really good also in the autofocusing department. And so in conclusion, I can only tell you that this lens is just great. Like, there's no way I cannot recommend this lens. This lens is super highly recommended because it gets you incredible performance in a super well-built package at a sub $600 price range. I don't know why you can get better than that. Fujifilm lenses are great. The 33 is a great lens. I love that lens, but I love this one more, and the Fujifilm costs more. This one, for the price, is just a killer value. I didn't believe all those people that were saying that this lens was so great, and I had to change my mind. This lens is just spectacular in every aspect you can think of. Photos, videos, autofocusing, build quality, everything is top notch. And for that price, it's just incredible. So for me, super, super, super recommended. I think I told you everything that I could about this lens. It was a couple of weeks of use, very intense use, and I love this lens. This is going to end up being part of my arsenal sooner or later. I don't have the finance now, but I will as soon as possible. I will buy it because I loved it. I love this lens. Thank you for watching. Leave me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.